This video pertains to volunteer opportunities within the Bibb County School District and its schools. Here's what we believe in the Bibb County School District. Our vision is that each student will demonstrate strength of character and will be college or career ready. Our mission is that the Bibb County School District develops a highly trained staff and an engaged community dedicated to educating each student for a 21st century global society. We'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for volunteering. Volunteers are an essential part of the success for Bibb County School District students, teachers, and schools. In order to volunteer, you will need to complete the volunteer or chaperone application and information packet. You'll need to watch these volunteer videos. If you would like to be a level 2 or 3 volunteer, someone that works with students, you'll need to submit to the appropriate background check process. In this video, we will cover mandated reporter requirements, child abuse reporting protocol, and the types of child abuse. Mandated reporters are legally required to report suspected or observed child abuse, neglect, or exploitation. You might be wondering, who is a mandated reporter? That is anyone employed by or volunteering at a business or an organization, whether public, private, for-profit, not-for-profit, or voluntary, that provides care, treatment, education, training, supervision, coaching, counseling, recreational programs, or shelter to children. That's anybody who meets those requirements is a mandatory reporter according to the Official Code of Georgia 19/7/5. When should you report abuse or neglect? If a volunteer has reasonable concerns about a child's safety based on information shared with you by the child or that you observed during your interactions, report those findings immediately. A report of suspected abuse shall be made immediately, but in no case later than 24 hours from the time there is reasonable cause to believe that suspected child abuse has occurred. Oral reports shall be followed by a later report in writing, if requested, to a child welfare agency providing protective services, or, in the absence of such an agency, to an appropriate police authority or district attorney. To whom should issues be reported? A volunteer should report suspected abuse or neglect to a school counselor, a school administrator. Do not contact the parent or guardian. Volunteers should report incidents when a child makes reference to these types of abuse: physical abuse, neglect, sexual abuse or exploitation, or emotional abuse. Physical abuse occurs when a child suffers a non-accidental injury that may include severe beatings, burns, bites, fractures, bruises, welts, or other physical problems. Possible indicators of physical abuse could be unexplained bruises, bald patches, burns, fractures, bites, broken bones, black eyes, and welts that are visible. This could also be fading bruises or other noticeable marks. You also might see a child who is frightened of their parents or other adults. Neglect. Neglect occurs when a parent, guardian, or caretaker allows a child to experience avoidable suffering or fails to provide basic essentials for physical, social, and emotional development. Neglect can also include failure to protect a child against a known harm or danger. Here are some possible indicators of neglect. You might see poor hygiene, malnourishment, lack of needed clothing or other essentials. This could include medication, glasses, or appropriate clothes for the season. You might see evidence of no or poor supervision. You might see abuse of alcohol or drugs. Sexual abuse is anything done with a child for the sexual gratification of an adult or older child. Sexual exploitation occurs when individuals buy, trade, or sell sexual acts with a child. Here are some possible indicators for sexual abuse or exploitation. You might see difficulty walking or sitting, reports of nightmares or bedwetting, or a sophisticated or unusual sexual knowledge or behavior with a child. Emotional abuse. Emotional abuse is a pattern of behavior that impairs a child's emotional development or sense of self-worth. Examples of emotional abuse include name-calling, insulting, threatening violence even without carrying out those threats, allowing children to witness the physical or emotional abuse of another, or withholding love, support, or guidance. Possible indicators of emotional abuse could include the child being fearful of a parent, saying they hate a parent, talking badly about themselves, such as saying, "I'm stupid," seeming emotionally mature when compared to peers, exhibiting sudden changes in speech, such as stuttering, or experiencing a sudden change in behavior, such as doing poorly in school. You might see the following signs of emotional abuse in a parent or caregiver: showing little or no regard for the child, talking badly about the child, not touching or holding the child affectionately, or not tending to the child's medical needs. You may be wondering what a volunteer should do in these instances. If a student discloses information about abuse or neglect, please tell the student that you care and ask the student to come with you to tell a teacher, school counselor, or administrator about their concerns. Do not investigate the allegation. A volunteer's duty is to report. Here's some things you might say. If a student discloses information about abuse or neglect, responses should be reassuring and kept to a minimum. Some examples include, "You did the right thing by telling me." "Thank you for telling me." "Do you mind coming with me to tell your teacher?" Here's what you should not say to a child. If a student discloses information about abuse or neglect, sharing such information is hard and stressful on a student, so refrain from asking questions. Your responsibility is to report suspected abuse, not to investigate it. It's important to remember confidentiality. Volunteers are expected to maintain confidentiality regarding student information that may be obtained while volunteering. The Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, or FERPA, requires information be kept confidential. A person required to report a suspected case of child abuse or neglect who knowingly and willfully fails to do so shall be guilty of a criminal misdemeanor. By reporting an allegation of child abuse or neglect, or by participating in any judicial proceeding regarding the alleged abuse, a volunteer is immune from any civil or criminal liability, provided the volunteer acted in good faith. An employer or volunteer who makes a report to the person designated shall be deemed to have fully complied with this subsection, which is Official Code of Georgia 19-7-5, Section C. In the case of medical emergencies, notify an administrator or teacher if you see a child in medical distress. In some instances, a volunteer may need to immediately call 911 if the volunteer suspects a child is in immediate danger. In such situations, the volunteer should also immediately notify school administration of the emergency. Please remember that student safety is our top priority in these instances. We thank you for your willingness to volunteer, and please help us maintain a safe and caring school community by following these guidelines as you volunteer in the Bibb County School District. We appreciate your time and support. If you have questions, please contact Ed Aaron at 478-765-8515.